Welcome to Secure the Deed podcast. I am your host, Laisha Bailey, president of the Greater Cleveland Realtors Association. This podcast is to bring information to you to prepare you for your home ownership journey, or if you're already a homeowner, to provide you more information and updates on the real estate market so that you feel comfortable in the position you're in. We're here to create sustainable home ownership for our communities, and that is our goal and what we aim to do. Today, I have with me a very good person whom I adore as well, but also a Realtors member and board of director for our organization, Sarah Minneman. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
I never know. I start to say President Bailey.
Thank you for being
in your
here.
role. And since I am a proud member, it's a great time to be a realtor.
It is a great time to be a realtor, always. That is our motto. So first, let the people know about yourself, your organization, how long you've been in the business.
Thank you. Can I start with one little part, though?
Yeah.
I hope that someone listening today says, Realtist, I want to know more. Who is a realtist and what do they do? Because I've been a proud member since 2009, and it's a great time to be one. Proud member of the Realtist in Greater Cleveland since 2009. Proud to be in the title insurance industry since 1993. So I know a thing or two. And I've seen a thing or two with different markets, interest rates being low, interest rates being high, interest rates just kind of being stagnant. And interest rates, I'm not a lender, but that does drive more activity, more people buying. And that's where we come in. For anyone who is ever, as you said, they're a homeowner now and they're considering refinancing, they will need title and escrow. And if someone is buying, they definitely need title and escrow.
Absolutely. You are an unsung hero in the process, right? You're kind of like hidden in the background. Not a lot of people know what title is, what role it plays, but you are integral. Your services are integral to the home buying process. So can you tell a little bit about title, what that is, title insurance, and why it's so important?
Absolutely. And I would love to. Unlike any other kind of insurance that's out there, health insurance, renter's insurance, car insurance, we're paying annually, whether you pay monthly or maybe you're paying annually, you're making that premium payment for something that might happen in the future.
Sure.
A tree might fall through the roof of your house if there's a giant tornado. It might happen, but you're going to pay to keep yourself insured. Title insurance, which is also regulated by the state of Ohio Department of Insurance, is unlike all of those other ones because you pay through closing one time for anything that may have happened in the past that was missed on that title exam. So we're actually performing a service of, we are saying there is a commitment to insure on this transaction. We will issue an owner's policy of title insurance to this buyer so they are insured as the true owner. And if something ever were to happen where something was missed, that homeowner does not have a deductible to pay. They just take out that policy from Stewart Title, which was issued. They call Stewart Title and the claims department takes over. They investigate it. So that homeowner is never finding legal counsel, paying a deductible, going down some real deep dive to figure out, did that person who sent me a certified letter, was that legit?
Right.
Or are they just trying to do something? So it's a very important service, and it is.
Yeah.
It's on the QT.
Yeah, it's a very involved process. And so you're at the time that you're making that purchase, like you said, it's a one-time payment. I'm not paying monthly for car insurance, et cetera. And it ensures it is a point of security, essentially, for a home buyer or homeowner, that I have clear title to this property. So can you talk a little bit about what Stewart title does in the process of someone buying a home, what you're looking for, what are some things that you're providing that peace of mind, comfort in the transaction for people who are going through the home buyer process?
Absolutely. And I'm glad that this is a series because
what's the most important
that's a multi-pronged
What's
question.
the most important things?
The most important thing is that we are starting title work the day that purchase agreement is signed and agreed to. So the buyer has identified the property they want to buy. They made an offer. The seller has accepted it, the price, the terms. We have a contract, meaning the purchase agreement, signed, initialed, send that to the lender, and send that to Stewart Title. We are going to start all of our processes that day. It's very important. It takes time for that examiner, 3 to 5 days, to actually complete their title search. From that point on, it's going to the title officer. A title exam could be this thick. Or with a common last name, it's going to be this thick.
Okay. So you're searching in the background, like
we're searching back. 60, 80, or 100 years back to identify the correct legal description and make sure that the county is going to approve that same legal description. Sometimes the county recorder can say, no, we need to do something before we approve this for transfer. We're making sure the sellers are who they say they are and that they have authority to sell the real property.
Because that's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole
where families
nother
involved.
Thing.
Okay. So so the home buyer, that's in the background. The main flashy things are I got pre-approved.
Yes.
I am going to search for my home with my real estate agent, and we're out looking, and I love this kitchen. I love this. And I write up the contract.
Seller agrees.
Everybody's happy. And you're doing the work of, okay, you all can be happy, but I need to make sure that this thing, because you're really their best friend. They don't know. They see you at the closing table, right?
Correct.
If everything goes smoothly, you are the face they want to see. You really should be their best friend, right? Like you're the face that they want to see. They got the keys, they're signing paperwork, and it's theirs. And you mentioned the county. So just for people who aren't aware, like what role does the county have in the home buying process and like making sure that things are in order?
The county has a big role. There are 4 separate departments that serve for real property. So the treasurer, the auditor, the tax map department, and the county recorder. So all of those different departments are going to be touching that transfer of real property going from this seller to the new buyer. So it's a process.
It is a process, and it's involved. And like we said, you're there at the beginning. As someone is approaching closing, everything, hopefully there's clear title, everything.
Yes.
Smooth process. It's time to be at the closing table. What are you doing to ensure that real estate agent and you have that open communication? Because that's important in the real estate process. There's a lot of players, there's a lot of things going on, but how are you communicating with the people in the process, the agents, et cetera?
So that's the escrow function. So at a title company, you have the actual title work, and that's our product, that title insurance policy to the lender and to the new owner. But the escrow agent, she or he is really the cruise ship director of that transaction. So they are keeping everyone abreast via communication, phone calls, followed up with email. This is where we're at.
Sure.
This is your lender told me that you have the okay to sign. We can sign as early as this day. And so they're organizing all of that, keeping what's in the contract and working with the lender and working with the seller and the buyer everybody has to be on the same page.
Everybody has to be on the same. That contract is the guide. It is the compass to closing. It's the compass to closing. And so you all are making sure everything from what someone needs to bring on the buyer side and the seller side is in order to get to that. Okay. So,
and in the greater Cleveland area, also making sure for some of our cities that have a point of sale component to them. So that escrow officer is reaching out to a lot of people. For a buyer, that preliminary time period before their loan is clear to close, before the escrow officer has the authority to reach out and say, Ms. Bailey, I can sign you on Thursday with title transfer the same day. Before that happens, it may feel like not a lot is happening. That's because a lot is happening on that seller's side.
Yeah.
We're obtaining a mortgage payoff. Maybe we're clearing liens that popped up on the exam that were not our party, but they had a common last name. So there's a lot that happens, and the buyer might think, nothing's really going on. There's a lot going on. But because in Northeast Ohio, we are an escrow state, meaning sellers and buyers aren't all at the table together.
Sure.
Sellers and buyers do not see each other's figures.
Sure.
It's always separate. So there might be a feeling of, oh, nothing's happening. No, there's a lot happening, but it's not affecting you at that moment. And as soon as we get that clear to close, then it is affecting you as the buyer.
Absolutely. So the goal is clear to close. Clear to close. That's what you want to hear.
That's what you want to hear.
Let's back up just a little bit. Stewart Title is a proud partner of this podcast, the Secure the Deed podcast, and you have been a Realtist member since 2009. Since 2009. So talk a little bit about your organization's commitment to democracy and housing and why it's important for you all to be a Realtist and be involved in this beautiful podcast.
Great questions, and thank you. Our commitment to democracy and housing is strong. I have had many people in the real estate industry over the years say to me, Sarah, Realtist is your why. This is why, because there are times that being in title and escrow or being in the real estate industry can make you feel like you might need a little break.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little overwhelming sometimes, but championing the mission is my why. It truly is. Having so many out of town, out of state, and international buyers coming to Greater Cleveland, which really spiked during the pandemic.
Absolutely.
Is that's just even more cement for me of why I am a Realtist and how important education is.
Absolutely. So you hit on a good point there, something that I wanted to talk about because we want to get the big picture here. Again, title unsung hero, but the involvement, like you mentioned, so many out-of-state investors, international investors coming into our area. Cleveland's in the news as the most affordable place to buy.
Right.
We have
lots of national news coverage.
Lots of national news coverage. We have affordability from a sense of, we're more affordable than most places in the country, but we still bring in a lot of a good median rent amount, for our properties, et cetera. So it's very attractive to investors. And one of the missions, again, of this podcast is to create local homegrown buyers. But just to that point, what are some of the things you're seeing in title from a perspective of issues that are coming up that we should care about as it relates to making sure that people have access to home ownership? Maybe there's things you want to touch on around fraud or other things that are happening that you see.
We have Certify ID installed as a company to protect buyers and sellers from wire transfer fraud. Another thing that we have, and I can explain about that in detail, or anyone can go to my website.
What's your website?
StewartCLE.com.
All right.
And that's an integral piece because wire fraud is so prevalent in real estate transactions. And the fraudsters are very patient. They will wait until they know that it's time for a buyer to send in their funds to close and then try to trick them. So that's a very key component. But seller impersonation fraud is also a huge issue. And we work diligently and have already stopped cases of fraud where they, we received an email. The telltale signs are always that it's a super rush. You cannot reach anyone by phone.
Yeah.
They want you to communicate via Snapchat or email. And then when we ask for ID and we try to certify ID them, they go away. So we are very proud that we have been able to stop some fraud, but it is out there and
it's very prevalent. I know one thing for me, like my phone blowing up, all kind of spam calls. I'm a homeowner. And so getting a lot of calls about my home, my property, is it for sale, is this, and then there are other levels of fraud as well. I know you don't necessarily deal in the rental space, but some of the issues that we have seen in the past as realtors is, we want to create homeowners, but we understand that, having stable ability to have safe and affordable rental is a step to that. But we have seen where people have pretended to be the homeowner and get people to sign up for a lease and take deposits, et cetera. And then the renter is just left out of their money because that isn't even the proper homeowner and things like that. So things that you do, even preparing people to buy a home, but it is still at play in the rental space as well, because you do have bad actors out there acting like they own a property. And especially in our area where we have, homes that may be sitting for a while and someone notices, hey, nobody's really, and I can pretend that I'm, own this property. Yeah, you can rent it from me. And then people are left out there with no recourse on how to really, alleviate that situation. But another issue that I wanted to talk to you about is kind of a generational aspect for our communities, right? We have a lot of people who grandparents or even, great parent or parent, owned a property. They lived in it for 30 years or they own it free and clear, et cetera. And maybe they, have passed on or something's going on. And now the property needs to be, sold, or you have people calling and saying, I'll get that property from you for $25,000, $30,000, right? How important is it for people to understand there's value in those properties, but also just understanding that you have options when trying to save that property? So can you talk a little bit about like the generational wealth component?
There are a lot of options, and it is always scary as a homeowner, or maybe you just you want to kick that can down the road of doing your estate planning. Of now I am a homeowner. This is the largest investment in my portfolio, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe you are fortunate to have a 401k at your work that you contribute to, or maybe you have a savings. But that piece of real property is probably your biggest investment.
Absolutely.
And you just made this big investment to purchase it. So having the conversation of, now I have this big investment, what should I do if something were to happen to me is very important. But a lot of people don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah, it's a tough conversation.
It's a tough conversation, and they kick that can down the road.
Yeah.
And there's also a fear of some attorneys, that's going to be a bad conversation. They're going to rook me. They're going to charge me all this money and not do what they need to do.
Sure.
But by knowing the Greater Cleveland Realtist, we have people that we can point them in the direction who would never take advantage and who are going to help them explain what's what, to have estate planning in place. Because often what we see in the title end is that a house has been owned by the same family, but everybody's deceased. The original owners are deceased.
Okay.
They purchased in 1963. And just granddad owned it.
Yeah. And now.
And he's long gone.
Yeah.
And grandma's long gone.
Yeah.
And, there are estate issues then in transferring title, because it all goes back to what we very first touched on. We're looking and doing that title exam to figure out who has authority. to sell this parcel.
That property.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for the current homeowners out there, now's the time.
Now is the time.
Now is the time to start thinking about, the future and making sure that you're able to transfer your property to your loved ones, etc. And in that process, let's say I already own a home. I'm a homeowner.
Right.
Am I able to reach out to Stewart Title, or can you offer assistance? And how do I even start that process? Like if I want to get into the
they can always reach out to me.
Okay.
As far as just doing that sort of deed transfer or estate planning transfer.
Mm-hmm.
I would want them to have a sit-down consultation with an attorney.
Sure.
Because maybe there are other things that they want to address too.
Yeah.
But they can always reach out for information.
Okay, perfect. So we want to make sure education is key. Education is key. And we just want to make sure that everyone knows what comes with homeownership, because a lot of times, it's the, I got pre-approved and I'm getting my home, but there's a lot that goes into being a homeowner, and it's all worth it. But as long as you're planned and prepared for that future. And again, like you said, we don't like to have those conversations, but it is very important so that we can hold on to the assets and the equity and the wealth that we've created. And us as professionals, real estate professionals, we want to help the folks get there. So just a little bit about the title space. Are there other issues or any other type of things that are currently happening that you would want folks to understand or be aware of as they're looking and starting their home ownership journey?
I would love people to know that when it comes down to they've been out with their realtist, they've identified that property, that they really have a choice as the consumer on what title company is going to be written into the contract, the purchase agreement, to handle their title and escrow. So I would love for them to know about that. Again, I mentioned that the seller's going to pay for one half of that premium of owner's policy. The buyer's going to pay the other half. So sometimes the seller may say, no, I want a different title company, but it's worth a conversation, or it's worth presenting. Hey,
everything's negotiable.
I listened to this fantastic podcast by the Greater Cleveland Realtist Association, and Stewart Title was mentioned. I checked out their website. I think I want one of the nation's largest underwriters who has a direct operations office in Cleveland. And expertise and years in the industry to handle my transaction.
Absolutely. So it's about that trust component. And I know you are heavily involved in homebuyer education seminars.
Yes.
So although you're at the end of the process, your engagement level is very, very high in the beginning. You're out meeting with people through, the Realtors Organization, but homebuyer education, et cetera. So how important is it for you to stay involved in that process? So people, because you're educating the people on, this is what title is, but you're also providing insight that maybe they didn't know before.
And I absolutely love doing the home buyer workshops and just the real estate workshops where I can help a seller. Hey, did you realize you could go to the Cuyahoga County Recorder's Office or any of the Recorder's Office in Northeast Ohio and sign up for a deed alert so that if anything's ever recorded, you're going to get a message from the recorder that, hey, somebody tried to, or somebody did file such and such document. I like that aspect. And I love talking to prospective home buyers. They're on their journey. What will be happening because there's parallel processes taking place. There are questions. How do I know? What are you going to put me? Am I going to get all these liens? No. And I like to educate and explain. And what that title policy is actually doing and what the escrow officer is doing during their transaction.
So what kind of liens should people be aware? What are our most common liens? I know you mentioned a lien. So what's some of the common liens?
Let's start with everybody's favorite, the IRS.
Our favorite, right.
If you don't pay your taxes, and you own real property,
Mm-hmm.
the IRS will put a lien on your property.
Mm-hmm.
There are contractor liens. You'll also know those as mechanic liens.
Okay. Someone done some work and they weren't
didn't
paid.
get paid.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And then mortgages. Maybe you have a first mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have a second mortgage that you had enough equity.
Mm-hmm.
So all kinds,
Okay.
child support enforcement,
Sure.
all sorts of judgment liens.
Okay. So as a buyer, I get in contract and you're making sure there's no liens on that nice house in Shaker Heights or
Or
Cleveland
if
that
there
I'm looking at.
are,
Okay.
If there are, that we are getting payoffs for those.
Okay.
The buyer will never see what the payoff amount is. Again, that's against the seller.
Sure.
But we are not going to put them into title
That's not free
and
clear.
inherit somebody's contractor
Somebody
from a
else's
bad
mess. Yeah.
No, we are not going to
Absolutely.
do that.
So again, you are the unsung hero of the process. Is there anything else that you would like for our audience to know who is listening as they're thinking about their homeownership journey? As they're thinking about maybe they want to buy another home? Is there anything you would like to tell them about staying engaged in the process?
I would love for people to continue. If they're already listening and tuning into this, then they have an appetite for learning. Keep learning. There is no stupid question. And every single transaction is unique and
Absolutely.
unto itself. And there can be dips and valleys, stops and starts.
Mm-hmm.
But the life of a real estate transaction can be from 2 weeks to 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's all worth it. And you have to trust in the process.
Absolutely.
And you have to trust in your professionals. That's why you want to have the realtors surrounding you, from your agent,
Mm-hmm.
maybe to your home inspector,
Yeah.
your insurance person, your lender, and of course, your title person.
Absolutely. So get a realtist. I want to thank you, Sarah Minneman, for being here with us, informing us on title, how important it is, and making sure that people understand that although you're in the background, you're definitely in the foreground with all of the people in the transaction who are helping that homeowner get those keys. So from Security Podcast, I am Laisha Bailey. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, if you want more information, visit StewartCle.com, and also visit clevelandrealtors.org to learn more about our organization and the people that are involved in promoting democracy in housing. Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.